I've gotten into all kinds of arguments about this movie with friends who basically wanted this to be the Richard Donner movie. And because it doesn't hit every beat, it's no good. It's like a bunch of people who grew up with Batman the movie from the 60s and then going to watch the Tim Burton version or the Nolan version, the Chris Nolan version, and deciding that it's too dark and where's the zap and the pow, right? I have a problem with people that keep trying to shove the Donner movie into this movie because that's not what it is. Superman, the Dick Donner movie was done in the 70s. It's done. Superman in the comics has moved on from that. He's gone past the Silver Age into the Bronze Age, into the Iron Age, into the Modern Age, into the New 52. He's a different character in its trappings and the way it feels. There's lots of different stories. Man of Steel felt a lot more like a comic by the name of Superman Earth 1. The first volume felt a lot like this. It had a lot of similarities to it. Superman, I believe, should have read it before I did this video, but I believe he was really pushed into becoming Superman in that because of an alien invasion. A few things I didn't like about the movie, and very few things. Yes, there are plot holes as big as a truck. And I'm going to link below on some defenses. This Superman movie was great. But I am also going to link to this hilarious critique of the movie done in almost a Mad Magazine style, and it's hilarious. There's just a lot of kind of goofy stuff about the movie that just kind of doesn't work. But that's okay. I completely ignore those things because Superman got to have super fights in this movie. But the one thing that really bothered me was Jonathan Kent and his portrayal. Now I'm going to link to a really great scene from Smallville of what maybe two videos from YouTube from Smallville that really show Jonathan Kent being the Jonathan Kent that I would have liked to see. And that's me comparing it to that Jonathan Kent. But here's the thing about Jonathan that I thought kind of needed to be there. I wanted him to be much more supportive and less paranoid. It's okay to be guarded and trying to protect Clark, but I did not want him to be so negative and to the point where it was as if he did not believe in Clark and did not believe in his son. And it was just like, what? You saved a bus full of kids? Maybe you should have let them die. I mean, really? And it's like, yeah, don't save anybody ever. Really? You could have at least had him go, well, find a way to do it without being seen, something, right? But it was really cold. It was a very cold portrayal of the character, who is traditionally very supportive. And the way he ends up dying was lame. It was dumb. Everything that Jonathan did in that scene in the hurricane before he dies, he could have allowed Clark to do, and he wouldn't have had to use his powers. Jonathan wouldn't have had to die. Clark couldn't die. It was a win-win. It felt so forced and lame. There was no reason why Clark should not have been doing what Jonathan was doing while Jonathan protected his wife. The two big critiques of the movie is Superman kills Zod and Superman doesn't save people while he punches Zod into buildings. Besides the giant plot holes that you could drive trucks through, that one is the main complaint, is the death toll and Superman kills Zod. First of all, let's not forget that the Tim Burton Batman killed a ton of people and eventually tied a gargoyle around the Joker's leg and threw him off a building, basically. So yeah, Batman in that movie, he killed people. In the Chris Nolan version, he indirectly kills Ra's al Ghul. you could argue he didn't save him, right? But he has a code against killing, mostly because, at least my logic is that he experienced murder. He knows what killing is like. He understands what the pain that death and killing somebody leaves, what it can do. In the Superman movie, this Clark Kent doesn't. In Man of Steel, you don't get a fully formed Superman until perhaps near the end of the movie where he's destroying the drone. Perhaps that is the fully formed Superman we were waiting for, and he really only has a handful of lines of dialogue. The rest of the movie, Superman is not complete. He is not Superman. Just because he's wearing the suit doesn't make him Superman. Just makes him Superman in training. So, first time he's ever let loose was on Zod's face. Get away from my mother, and he starts wailing on him, right? He's never been in a real fight. He's always been holding back. So he starts getting into a fight with a bunch of Kryptonians. He knocks them into an empty place. They knock him back into Smallville. And then he has a big fight. It's all he can do to be fighting, much less saving people. He can barely save himself, right? He's barely trying to hold on and do what he can. Same with Zod. He fights Zod. He punches Zod into outer space. Zod comes back and knocks him back into Smallville. I don't know if it was Smallville or I have to see the movie again. But the point is, he knocks Zod into space, trying to clear him of the crowds and places, and Zod takes him right back. You could argue that Zod strategically picks this metropolis to fight in because he's the tactician. Superman is not. Superman's not thinking, and he's punching Zod across into buildings and stuff because he's not thinking. He's just fighting Zod. He's trying to survive. He's trying to deal with the matter at hand. He is not Superman. He doesn't think the way Superman thinks yet because he hasn't been in a situation like this. He ends up killing Zod in an impossible situation. Zack Snyder has said that the reason why they put that into the movie, even though originally it wasn't, Zod was supposed to be sent back in the Phantom Zone with all the other Kryptonians, was because he wanted to show the reasons why Clark doesn't kill, why Superman doesn't kill. He basically killed the last Kryptonian. He understands the pain of what he did. He doesn't want to ever go through it again. The flaw, of course, being that he didn't get enough chance to grieve about it. He never got to see him really, truly process it and grieve. It just kind of, the movie turned happy too quickly. So you didn't get that effect. But that was the logic behind it. I was okay with that logic as long as you pay it off in two ways in the next movie. One, he makes sure that the next super fight he has, he tries not to have the same thing happen again to Metropolis. And two, he doesn't kill again. It sets up Lex Luthor great. It sets him up as the savior of Metropolis, who put Metropolis back together after the two aliens destroyed it. It creates a great antagonism. So I think that, to me, as long as it gets addressed in the next movie, would make it okay. There's nothing I can think of, unless they put more flashbacks with Jonathan, that can fix Jonathan at this point. I thought Jonathan was really poorly written. Overall, I loved Man of Steel. I loved it. I thought it was great. I had a lot of fun watching it. Except for Jonathan Kent. I liked Jor-El being an action hero. I liked how he was a maverick, so maybe he was trained to fight by Zod. I liked how he got his suit. Where did the suit come from? Come on, man. Where did the food come from in Star Trek? Replicators, right? Who's to say that there's no replicator room or was an ancient piece of armor, or the armor can't be created by the machine run by Jor-El? I don't have any problems with that stuff. I don't mind Lois immediately pretty much knowing who Superman is from the very beginning, not having the traditional Lois doesn't know who the Clark is Superman thing. Yeah, let's skip that. Go straight to, because if Smallville has taught us anything, is that if you don't know Clark's secret, you are pretty much a useless character in the show. And you look like a big dope because you can't help Superman out. So yeah, I liked Man of Steel. I thought it was great. I think you should read the comics to get acclimated. If you only know the Donner movie, nostalgia doesn't make Man of Steel bad. It just makes you nostalgic. If you like the Donner movie, buy it and watch it. But if you want something else, go watch Man of Steel. It's a different movie. It's a different take on Superman. It's still Superman. It's just not the fully formed Superman that flies out of the Fortress of Solitude in the Donner movie fully formed. We're watching the actual formation in this movie. So, all right. I'm sure you disagree. There's many of you who disagree. Chime in. I don't mind. On my blog. Oh, if you don't like how long those fights took, there's a video of a very well choreographed fight that is very, very similar to that fight. I put it down below. On my blog, if you're on my blog, you'll see it. You get to watch it. And there was one more thing, and that is, yeah, Smallville's got some really great clips. I'm going to show you some. I'm also going to link to some fun Smallville clips, but here's the thing. Somebody on Facebook said this, and I quote, "I had some problems with the movie, but at the end of the day, I'm willing to cut Snyder a little slack. He only had to bring the most iconic and difficult to adapt superhero to the screen to a 21st century audience. Satisfy the nerd boys like us who were going to dissect everything he did and bring in the casual fans who they really need to make the movie profitable. As Hollywood movies have ballooned in cost, this one cost right about $450 million to make and market. I'm sure some artistic choices were sacrificed because he had the studio up his butt. Let's not forget that The Dark Knight was the second film of the trilogy after Nolan had established that he could sell his Batman universe and was given leeway with the suits. Batman Begins was nowhere near as ambitious. It was a textbook origin. All in all, Man of Steel satisfied my summer movie requirements, and like you said, the effects were very well done, and there are much worse superhero movies in the cosmos. Green Lantern, anyone? Alright, so I think that pretty much sums it up, and those are pretty much my feelings too. Give it some slack. Alright, that's my incredibly long rant on Superman. Leave a comment, and I'll talk to you next time. Alright, bye.